prides themselves on truth, integrity, and clean, pure water. They bottle in glass to preserve quality and taste, and also proudly offer recyclable, green plastic bottles as a convenient on-the-go alternative. There's never been a better time than now to get back to your source. So head over to mountainvalleyspring.com to find your local retailer or set up delivery to your home or office today. All right, welcome back to Around the Diamond, all you baseball fanatics. I'm your host, Steve, and joined as always by the podcast better half, Mr. Baseball Guru himself, Kevin Bohannon. How are you tonight, Kevin?
Doing good, Steve. Excited to bring on our guest tonight to get to hear some of the inner workings and how things work on the road as a MLB scout.
Yeah, absolutely. So I promise I unmuted us. I think we're good to go, actually, so I didn't mess all that up. And we've got an exciting show. You alluded to it there. We're joined by Steve Moritz, scout for the San Diego Padres. We're going to talk some MLB draft as well as what this season could entail. I'm really excited to get a little inside look at the world of a Major League Baseball scout. And after we're done soft tossing around with Steve, we're going to jump right back into our series on Razorback baseball signees, with 3 more breakdowns by the Baseball Guru. So, without further delay, let's rock and roll. All right. Kevin, you doing all right over there still with us, man?
Yeah, doing good, Steve. I'm here, buddy.
All right. Well, we'll let you jump into it here with Steve. Steve, welcome. The only question I have for you, just as we get started real quick before I let Kevin take over, is, I was going through your Twitter and couldn't help but notice all the dinosaur wars and Jurassic Park stuff you got going on over there. So I had to mention that.
Yeah, I got a 4-year-old, man. He's into those dinos, man. He's learned those names and knows a lot more than I do. I'm 37 and a 4-year-old. Way more versed than I am when it comes to Dino Land.
I have a 7 and 3-year-old. I feel it. So I feel what you got going on there for sure.
And I'm starting to think my 7-week-old has more sense than I do sometimes, but that's to be determined. But yes, Steve, we're really excited to have you with us tonight. Of course, Steve Moritz, San Diego Padres Scout. Welcome to Around the Diamond. And we wanted to talk to college baseball coaches, college players, high school players, Caden Wallace, young man that you've seen a few times. And we've gotten their take on what they've been doing and what they're doing going forward, looking into the MLB draft, whether it be in June or July. But with the draft being shortened down to 5 rounds this year and possibly 20 next year, who is this going to benefit the most?
Well, I would say it's going to benefit college baseball the most. You're going to have a lot of guys that are going to return to their respective colleges and just not going to have as much opportunity probably to sign. And then specifically, I think, the junior colleges, the Division II, I think you're going to see an uptick in talent level at those levels. So yeah, I think college baseball is going to benefit the most from this.
That's when we had talked about it in the past over here, that there's going to be a talent log jam, and that's what Casey Martin mentioned last week. He said that a lot of teams in the SEC are going to look like Florida and Arkansas did in 2018 when they made runs to Omaha, and Arkansas ended up getting to the national finals against Oregon State. And it's just amazing to see the level of arms that are coming into college baseball now and into the pro level. Looking at, we saw Cade Cavalli this year. Arkansas saw him, but looking at guys like Nick Abel that's coming out of the prep ranks, these guys are throwing 97, 98 miles per hour, and some of them aren't even 18 years old yet.
Yeah, I mean, velo is everywhere now. And, I've only been scouting for 6 years. And just to see, even in the major league level, on our scouting scale, the average fastball velo, has increased, on our scale. And, yeah, velo is everywhere now, man. I mean, with the technology and some of these third parties and what they can do, It's not the same to say that I throw 90 miles an hour anymore, which, is kind of fun for us because now you're talking about pitchability, you're talking about ability to spin. There's more integral parts to scout than just pull the radar gun and say, okay, well, let's get those hard. But yeah, velo's everywhere, man.
And talking about prospects for just a second, I know a lot of guys throw hard, but who's the best prospect that you've had as far as pitchability and guy that can go out there and really pitch in the prep ranks, amateur ranks?
Yeah, name comes to mind is Braxton Garrett. The Marlins took him in 16, I think at 7 overall. And he was a high school kid out of Alabama. And to see what he could do as an 18-year-old, there were nights that I honestly thought he could pitch the big leagues at 18. He threw that many strikes, quality of strikes, and the present breaking ball was very impressive. So Brax would be right there. And then, Dakota Hudson is another one. Mississippi State, same year. Yeah. The St. Louis took. Dakota didn't pitch much his first couple of years at Mississippi State, and he goes out to the Cape and has a big year. Comes back at a great fall, and we were all at his first start. Opening Friday night at Mississippi State, 13,000, wherever the case might be, were there, and he looked like kind of a deer in headlights. I remember he actually balked in a run in the first inning. So you're kind of going, okay, let's see how this plays out. And man, by the time SEC played roll around, it didn't take long, 3, 4, 5 weeks. It was like, give me the ball, I'm the man, and you're going to be out. So to watch like his transgression and how quickly it happened, and both those guys were my second year scouting, and a lot.
And we get to see Manny Machado is now with the Padres, and I know you didn't get to see him coming up as a scout, but guys like that, you're always looking for the next one that could impact your program. And, with the draft shortened down to 5 rounds now, it makes your work and the scouting department's work. Y'all have to be on top of your game, from the past all the way to now and in the future as well, as y'all are putting together teams, not for just the big club, but for the minor leagues as well.
Yeah. And that's kind of the fun part about the job is, you could have a 17-year-old high school ready with, all this projection left in the body, and, take that player, and then you got to take Kate Cavalli. We already talked about him, big horse that has got, the now stuff. And, it's our job to, we're not scouting for now, we're scouting to look in the future. And, again, that's kind of the fun part of the job. And, it's the hard part, but it's also the most enjoyable part.
Talking about go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was going to say, so in terms of the draft and just, as we start to, I guess we're starting to see more players come out of the, out of the college ranks versus going straight from high school, as we're starting to see some, they're starting to see, I guess, that the difference in development, what are you seeing from a scout's perspective in terms of the talent coming out of college versus the talent coming out of high school? Do you think more guys are going that college route?
Yeah, I think so. You're still your front end guys. Your guys that are quote unquote famous. They're still going to go, good and get their money. But I think with again the technology advances that especially on the pitching side, they're there, and some of these colleges have these elaborate pitching labs, and the ability to get these guys better has improved. And there's a little bit of a trend with college pitching coaches going straight to be a big league pitching coach. Wes Johnson comes to mind. One of the first guys to do it was DJ Johnson. He was at Vanderbilt, Milwaukee, and he's with Cincinnati Reds now. These guys are just becoming more and more knowledgeable, and they're good at what they do. So yeah, I think that the selling point for these high school guys are, hey, come to school for 2-3 years, and we're going to get you to where you need to be. And now we have the resources and the medical, the science behind it, and can prove that, hey, we're going to get you better.
Let's jump over and talk about some of the things that Major League Baseball has had to deal with lately. Last week they came out and said, look, I think we're going to be able to start in June, maybe the 1st of July, and have a 100-game season. We're going to split the teams into 3 divisions, do it geographically. You'll have the East, the Central, and the West. Maybe start out in Florida, Texas, and California, or Arizona, like they originally planned, but they're going to get to play in their home stadiums. And that was a big thing that Mike Trout and Clayton Kershaw, some of the big names, came out and said that they really wanted to do. They really didn't want to stay away from their families. Mm-hmm. Do you see that happening, Steve?
Yeah, I do. I think there's been a commitment by Major League Baseball, by the players union, to have some sort of a season this year. And, listening to, our GM and our owners talk on conference calls, that's been the main goal is we got to get everyone safe, get this thing under control, but we're committed to having some sort of a season. Now, what that looks like, there's been all sorts of ideas thrown around, and, I do think there's going to be a season, and it sounds like this newest model is catching the most wind. I know one of the first things that was thrown out there was spring training complexes, and I think that was a comfort level. I mean, these guys don't want to go and not have access to their home spring training facilities or home stadiums. So a lot of it's just comfort because you got to think you're on the road and 100 games and all this other stuff. It's important those guys have some sort of comfort where they're going to be for the foreseeable future.
And, personally, we've played at the spring training complex here in Jupiter and then also out in Arizona. You've been out there as well. And that's just not the home feel of a major league stadium and the amenities that they have there. Yeah. So I can see that from that point of view. And, talking about, you've been a scout for 6 years now, and you were a coach before that. How has scouting changed? I know you work with a great scouting department there with the Padres. You look at the movie Trouble with the Curve and Clint Eastwood. He was old school. He did it by feel and sound, which I'm kind of the same way. I'm in that same age group you. I'm 39 years old now. And you can hear that sweet sound coming off the bat. Caden Wallace, for example. You pay attention. A Nate Wohlgemuth, when it hits the mitt, you know that kid's throwing hard, and that's pure. How has technology come into play to where, you get to see it, but you get to see everybody at once now, too, with all the showcases? How has it changed over the last 10, 15 years?
Well, I think just the advancement in the accessibility in the analytical side has grown tremendously, just like I said, in my 6 years. And then the more important part is the ability to transfer all that data to the players and how to get them better. You could have how fast he's swinging the bat through the zone, how hard the ball comes off the bat, how much spin rate there is and all this other stuff. But if you can't take that and then utilize it and give it to the players to help them, get better, then you're not really, there's no reason to do it. So that's probably been the biggest change, again, just in the last few years, is the amount of data collected and then how to apply it on the field. And then along with that, it's the prediction, the predicting of, where their ceilings are and trends, with different numbers and stuff that I'm not really that well versed in. But yeah, that also has helped is predicting measurements and getting guys to reach their peak potential.
So I got a question just in follow-up of that. Has that made your job any more difficult when you start thinking about? I mean, I'm sure you've probably dealt with most of it since being in the world for about 6 years. But does that make it a little more difficult in terms of the amount of information? I know obviously sometimes information overload versus the old school way of doing just scouting a guy. Now you're really delving into analytics and all these like you said, the technology that's coming from different programs and the stuff that you guys have. Does that make your job any more difficult?
I wouldn't say difficult. I can, different clubs do it different ways. But we really try and keep the data side, the science side, the analytics side separate from the quote unquote scouting side. I mean, they're still scouting, but I guess the old school way. We don't really, we try not to take, too much of it to clog and, like you said, data overload our opinions and our grades. But at the same time, once we understand and we can understand why, this is better than this, then it actually helps our job, and we can look at these predictive measurements and look at, swing and miss rates and, the tunneling and how the curveball plays off the fastball, like these specific things, and it can help your job. So the important thing is to have that clear line and understand what it all means. If you don't know what it all means, then, again, it's not going to do you any good. So maybe a long-winded way of answering that. I don't think it's made it harder. It's just made it different.
And I'll have to give Steve credit. The first time I met you, we talked about the ball player himself and not what his exit dealer was, how hard he was throwing. We talked about some of the old school ways of scouting and, how he handles things on the field, what's his background, things like that. And it's kind of refreshing instead of just sitting behind a computer and letting, some numbers go into the computer and here's what comes out, the perfect prospect. That's not out there. There's still a gut feeling to this, trade that you have and that, we all love in the game of baseball. So it's really good to see that, you do have the scouting side, you do have the analytical side. So it's really neat to see.
Yeah, I mean, becoming a big leaguer is hard. I mean, there's so much diversity. And I actually coached in professional baseball for 1 year, and I never played professionally, but I got to coach for 1 year. And just to see the obstacles, the hurdles, might go on for forever about all these different, reasons why a guy might not make the big leagues. It's not always talent, and there's guys that aren't the most talented, but they grind and they have this inner makeup that allows them to get there and reach their potential. So, yeah, I mean, the human side of it, is very important. And I think that's where you can actually separate yourself, not just as a scout, but you can separate the players a little bit. Hey, this kid has been through this and done this, and this is how I handled this, and this is what his teammates and parents and teachers and coaches say about him. And, it's not about being a perfect human, because there are guys in the big leagues that aren't perfect angels. So it's not necessarily
right.
It's not necessarily they don't all have to be choir boys, but there's got to be a process and a reason of why and who they are and how they got to be who they are, and that's really important.
Now, I got to come out and ask this, since it just came down from NCAA today, and we've talked about it on sports shows this afternoon, Drive Time Sports. But the NCAA came down and said, okay, players can profit off their likeness without promoting the university. There's a whole thing to go into on that. Do you think that affects amateurism in the draft moving forward, that kids might stay in school or go to school as opposed to going to the professional ranks?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, this is a brand new topic in uncharted territory. And so my initial, gut tells me that, those families that may be struggling financially more than other families, if they can go to school and put some money in their pocket and, become the cover of, a video game or sell jerseys, whatever the case might be, yeah, it's lucrative, it's going to be a slippery slope to see how it all plays out. But I would not rule out that, it is going to, at least enlighten some high school guys to go to school, because, hey, you know what? I can make a little bit of cash. And my rebuttal to that is, we're given the opportunity to start your professional career at 18, opposed to maybe 21, or, if they are junior college, 19 or 20, but to get started sooner. And, hopefully the end goal is to be a big leaguer. And, it's different paths for everybody, but, that's the benefit is, hey, I'm going to become a professional right now and start my path. And that's kind of the rebuttal to it all.
Yeah, they all have the clock.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, again, not to get too in depth here, but that 1 year I was coaching, we had a 22-year-old that came out of the SEC and a 20-year-old at the time who signed right out of high school, and so they'd both been playing professionally for 2 years. And to see the maturity level difference between the two, I'm talking baseball, was completely different. You see a kid that got started at an early age, he's kind of been through this and knew how to prepare and play 140 games, where it is in minor leagues, versus a kid that was just coming out of college and maybe more mature off the field and been through, living on his own, so on and so forth, but was still learning how to become a professional. And that's kind of cliche, but there is a lot of truth to that. So yeah, like you just see the maturation process start at an earlier age, is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, we see a guy like Robert Moore who's in Fayetteville right now that seems like he's probably could be a senior and playing at the next level immediately. So his demeanor is amazing on the field.
Yeah, and growing up with his dad and just being around the game, being around the professional game, and with him specifically, there was no doubt in my mind that he wasn't ready for professional baseball mentally. I just think it was some physical things that he needed to get better at, and that's maybe one of the reasons why he chose to go to school early. But yeah, you see that's another one that you see opening weekend, and here's this kid that's supposed to be a senior in high school, and then shoot, by the end of it, before this thing all got shut down, he's leading the team, he's hitting home runs at Minute Maid, and again, and it's different strokes for different folks, right? Like, I mean, sometimes guys need to go to school and grow up. Yeah, it just depends.
So on the money thing and these guys coming in, as you start looking at the kind of the strangeness of this draft, this draft season and the money that may be out there. I haven't looked it up in the last little bit, but I know initially there was some talk about, being capped at 10% of their bonus up front.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that still the case right now?
As far as I understand, yeah, everything's going to be deferred for a couple of years. I believe the last thing I heard, I think it was $100,000 up front. Right. And then again, the rest of the money is going to be deferred for the next couple of years.
So obviously with the NCAA adding this extra year, letting all these guys come back for another season, are you seeing any pushback from guys that would normally be a top rated guy that may think, if I wait till next year, I might get the full money, or if I come, versus coming out this year?
Not yet. Without knowing the exact draft date, I haven't really started those conversations yet. First and foremost, I don't know if you guys are aware, but once Major League Baseball stopped spring training and we pulled the scouts off the road, there was no communication allowed from the scouts to coaches, trainers, players,
right?
For a couple of weeks. So once we got to start talking to them, it's about the human element. You get to know these guys,
mm-hmm.
and it's not about in March, hey, are you going to sign for this much money? It's, hey, how's your family? Are you guys healthy? Are you guys safe? So that was kind of the I guess mindset up to this point. I believe there's going to be a ruling on when the draft will be, and you'll see those talks ramp up pretty quickly. So I haven't seen a whole lot yet. All right now, it's just speculation, and speculation get you in trouble.
Yeah, no doubt. All right,
Steve, I greatly appreciate you coming on with us, man. A lot of great wealth of information, and hope to have you on in the future as well as we get closer to the draft. Maybe you can break down some stuff with us, and we greatly appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, man, anytime. I enjoy doing this type of stuff. It's a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. And anytime you guys want to talk, man, just give me a call.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for joining us, Steve.
No problem, guys.
All right, when we get back, guys, we're going to going to continue our series on the Razorback signees and these guys that we hope to see on the hill this fall. So hang around with us. We'll be right back. Support for this episode of Around the Diamond is provided by Arkansas Car Clinic. Arkansas Car Clinic is a locally owned business located in Benton, Arkansas. Mike and his team do it all, and at a fraction of the cost and time of the big body shops. Their goal is to keep you and your vehicle happy and looking great. Whether it's minor scratches, dents, or you hit one of those huge Arkansas bucks, Arkansas Car Clinic is your go-to locally owned shop. They also handle windshield replacement, spray and bed liners, auto detailing, or if you're like me and find every drive-thru's curb, they handle wheel repairs as well. Give Mike a call at 501-575-6357 to get your vehicle back to that like-new condition. All right, welcome back, everybody. What a fun segment with Steve Moritz. We really appreciate Steve joining us. Man, it's always good to get good, knowledgeable guys in on the podcast and really help us really decipher what's going on at the Major League Baseball level right now. So, big time guest there with Steve. Really appreciate him joining us.
Yeah, it really was, and we can talk to coaches and players all we want to, and we have access to a lot of really good ones in this state. We're very fortunate, but to get somebody's outside perspective on what they're seeing and that are, in an organization like the Padres that can give us information that we can disseminate to our listeners and viewers, it's really important. So we're very fortunate to have a relationship with Steve, and moving forward, we'll have him on hopefully for some draft insight and what we can look for as we move forward into the 2020 Major League season.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'd love to get him back on and really pick his brain on some of these guys that Arkansas's got coming out too. So and get his thoughts as we get closer to draft time. So certainly looking forward to that. But not to take anything away from what we've got going on here tonight. Really excited to continue this rundown of Razorback signees that we really hope that we will see on the Hill come this fall. So few of these guys, who knows? We'll see what happens. But the first guy I want us to talk about might have a strange last name, but there's nothing strange about his baseball talents. Right-handed pitcher Nate Wolgemuth from Owasso, Oklahoma, could be an instant impact contributor, assuming he makes it to campus. First off, what's our odds of that happening, Kevin?
I think they're pretty good because he could be a 2-year guy. Nate's he'll be 19 years old at the time of the draft. He's about to turn in June, I believe. So he'll have the ability to play 2 years and then go pro. That was one of the big things that Dave Van Horn and Nate Thompson and Matt Hobbs sold to Nate and said, look, you come here 2 years with all these guys, we're going to win a College World Series, and then you can go make all the money you want to. And Nate has been on the scene for a long time now. And when I say long time, probably since he was 13, 14 years old, because when he was 14, he was throwing in the low 90s. He was built, like a linebacker. He was about 215, 220 at the time and could squat a Buick. So, as he got older, he trimmed up a little bit. And this past fall down in Jupiter, Florida, he was up to 97 miles per hour and threw a no-hitter at the World Championships for perfect game. So it's been a lot of fun to watch him grow, develop. He's not just a flamethrower, he's a pitcher. Of course, anybody that young with that much velocity, there's always worry about Tommy John, things like that. But he is a student of the game. He's taking care of his body. He knows how to lift weights, do it so it does not hurt him. And just being able to watch him, his stuff is electric. He's a front end guy, and I know we talked about Pink Hint and Nick Griffin on our last episode. But if you get three guys like that, you're looking at a lot of smoke coming off the mound.
Yeah, no doubt. So I wanted to get into, and this is more for our folks that are watching us on YouTube, but there's an interview here. You were talking about the no-hitter, and I watched this video. It's about 2 minutes long, and I wanted to play it kind of in its entirety here because if you're watching on YouTube, and I highly suggest that you guys hop over and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Natural State Sports. Most of our podcasts will be streamed there, whether they're live or will be uploaded there. You'll be able to see them. But the fun part is we try to put a little bit of detail in there with these things as well that obviously you can't put out on a podcast and as far as visuals. So this I thought was a pretty neat interview from Perfect Game after his no-hitter and kind of him talking about the how all that worked out. So I wanted to play that real quick before we get into the rest of the baseball guru here and in his scouting report. So give me just a minute to hop over there.
No hitter last night. Pretty amazing, dude. What
sir.
made you think you were able to do that like last night? Consistent. It's a big pressure situation. What was going through your mind?
It all started just from the start of the game. It just seemed like I showed up to the ballpark. Once I got to the field, it was just locked in. Just threw some music in. Just right then and there, I kind of had the feeling that it was just going to be a good start. Just I felt locked in the entire time.
So what kind of mechanics training have you done over the years to be able to generate that kind of power, being almost just under 6 foot tall?
At a young age, it was more of trying to get in my lower half because I've always had a quick arm, but my lower half has always been like the best thing for me. It's been strong, and so just working on getting my backside to fire through and just getting my hips to work quick. If the mound has a hole here in the middle, is usually where I pitch. The key is tempo. I just think about slowing the game down, slowing my body down, and just going through really nice and smooth, getting everything under control. And then when I get out in front, it's effort. It's effort late. On my curveball, it's just how much can I get it to bite, and how much I'm trying to make the hitter look like he's never hit before. So that's kind of more the key. With my changeup, I'm just thinking in my head, it's a fastball. I'm just throwing it exactly like a fastball, trying to throw it just as hard as a fastball, and it looks like a fastball and just breaks off. Some people work on getting the hole where you can see through.
Circle, yeah.
But I tend to throw that super hard when I do that, so I learned at a young age to choke it off, and that's where I get the depth of the drop. And that's why when I throw it to lefties and sometimes the righties, it's an effective pitch. When I'm throwing curveballs, sometimes when I get here, I kind of cut it off, and those aren't the good ones. When I get it and I get it out in front and it flips out, it's more of a 12-6.
Good extension, getting out front on top and pulling down the front of the ball, right?
Last night I threw quite a few two-seams. So I picked a spot on that umpire, and I was trying to make it look where this two-seam looks like it's about to hit the lefty, but it really was never. And so they were.
You had a really good rotation. I watched some video of the game. Really good arm tug down.
I work a little bit on putting a ball, maybe a little bit heavier ball in my glove, and then feeling that come through. I'm hitting, stopping, and then it's just kind of like falling off to the side. It really makes a good bite and good 12-6.
Well, congratulations. Way to go.
All right, good stuff there. If you get a chance, hop on YouTube, The Perfect Game, and they've got some really, really good stuff. We're going to share a little bit more here in just a bit, but wanted to throw that out there. So, I mean, when you listen to that, you hear a guy in Wogelmuth that he sounds like he's at least got the mindset, and he's been well coached, and he's ready for this level of baseball.
Yeah, he's really advanced, and he's talking about the power he generates. And when you watch video of Nate, you see that just like the great pitchers, Nolan Ryan, Roger Clemens, those were big guys, and they generated their power from the ground up. And Nate has really strong lower half, and his fastball range was 94 to 97 the whole game for 7 innings. He struck out 14. He only walked 2, and that just shows you what kind of pitcher this guy is. And he's not throwing up against little leaguers. These guys are some of the best in the nation, and he did a really good job. And he's got a power changeup. He talked about his two-seam. His two-seam has a lot of arm side run and some sink to it, but he's got a power changeup, and his curveball comes in the low 80s. So if he's really in sync and in tune, he talked about his arm slot where he gets out front and he can flip that curveball. It's really hard to see whether it's going to be 97 or 80 coming out of his hand. And once you see 80, 97 is going to look like 146. Yeah. So, it's really fun to watch this kid pitch.
Well, and again, for those of you that are following along on YouTube right now or watching, you're watching some of the movement. I've got a little highlight video just playing in the background, and the movement on what he throws. I mean, he just threw one there that the catcher couldn't catch up to because it had so much movement on it. So some of that stuff's just not fair. So highly suggest you get over to our YouTube channel and see some of the stuff that this kid throws, because he's an exciting one. When you look at what he brings to the table and the skills that he has, and as advanced as he is right now, he could be a really early contributor and do a lot of good things on the hill.
Definitely, Steve. And, like I said, he's got 2 years and he can go pro. He really wants to go to school with some of these guys that are already committed, signed. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully we get him up there on the hill.
Yeah, without a doubt. So let me jump back over here. So the next guy we're going to talk about real quick is going to be David Calabrese. So tell me, number one, right off the bat here, how in the world? I mean, this just shows the reach of a guy like Dave Van Horn to grab a guy out of Canada.
So David Calabrese, the quick Canadian, and it does show you that Dave Van Horn he does not stay in Northwest Arkansas. He goes global, international to get the best players. And David Calabrese plays for the Ontario Blue Jays. And the Ontario Blue Jays is a program out of Ontario, Canada, and they travel and play baseball in the southern part of the United States. We played them last fall in October before we went to Jupiter. And what they do is they travel as a baseball club. I believe they got 25 to 30 players on their roster, and they travel down for a week. They'll play in different parts. If they want to pick up some games in the Mid-Atlantic and the Virginias and play some of those teams up there on their way down to their tournament, they'll do that. They have tutors on the bus. They don't miss any class because they're taking virtual classes, a lot like people are now. So Dave Van Horn and Nate Thompson saw Calabrese at an event. And when you see David, you don't think, wow, especially when you compare him to a Caden Wallace or Nate Wogelmuth, who are just big, physical guys. Calabrese's 5'10", 160. He's a lot like kind of like Robert Moore, not an imposing figure physically. So, but then you watch the guy play. He's a left-handed hitter, center fielder, has really good instincts out there. He patrols the big green ocean, as I like to say, with ease. He has really good instincts off the bat. He has great angles to the ball. He's a really good speedster. He's one of those guys that if you look at him run, it's effortless, and he controls the bat really well. He can handle high velocity pitching, and he has gap to gap power. And we've talked about it on this show before. Gap to gap power is in the power alleys, and he's got it from the left all the way over to the right, which is his pull side. And it's a lot of fun to watch the young man hit. He doesn't have the power element yet. That will come with maturity. He's one of those young guys as well. We talked about Tink Hence and Nick Griffin. He'll be 18 in December, I believe, or in the fall. So he won't even be 18 at the time of the draft. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch him. He is ranked in the top 100 on a lot of draft boards right now. He was in the MLB top 300 that went out to all 30 teams. So it's going to be a fight to see if he gets the number that he really wants in the draft in a couple of months, if he makes it to Arkansas or not. He's really shot up draft boards, and Perfect Game had him as one of their top 10 risers over the spring.
I was going to say, he definitely seems to be making a rise quickly. You mentioned the top 100 ranking. You look at his Perfect Game ranking, and he's actually rated, below some of these other guys, but ahead of him in the MLB rankings is, Perfect Game, I think, has him rated as about an 8 on their 1 to 10 scale. So, but MLB rankings, they've got him in some of these drafts, like you said, in the top 100. So, definitely looks, like you said, he's a smaller guy. But you watch some of these highlights we got going up on the screen right now, and he definitely has got a lot of talent, got a lot of tools to bring to Fayetteville. So again, is this a guy that we think we can count on? I mean, obviously things are strange, but things that we may see on the hill this fall.
Yeah, and Steve Moritz just talked about Robert Moore, how he wasn't ready physically to go to pro ball. So that might be our saving grace in getting David on campus. David, and you talk about his grade from Perfect Game of being an 8. And being in Ontario, Canada, you can't travel to Arizona or Texas or Atlanta at the drop of a hat. So he didn't get to participate in every event like these other guys did, but he did participate in the underclass national showcase, and I believe that's where they got his first grade and a lot of his measurements. But David's a 6'5", 6'6" runner. He's going to be 90 miles per hour from the outfield, and he's going to be real quick down the line. Controls the bat really well. Think of a high average, low power guy that's going to be kind of comparing to Jake Mangum, just a little bit more athletic with that high motor.
So safe to say that this outfield is going to be insanely talented. Not like
No
it's
doubt.
not already. Yeah. I mean, when you got the guys that are out there right now already, but I mean, geez, you look at the names coming in, and I mean, you're obviously looking for a replacement for a Kerstad and some other guys, and there's some serious talent that's about to walk up on campus hopefully here in a couple of months.
Yeah, you'll have Christian Franklin out there, and you got some other guys too. I know Heston's going to be gone, and then you got Braden Webb. He's not sure what he's going to do yet, but if he's back, but you got Calabrese, another couple of guys that we're going to talk about, Clayton Gray, Ethan Bates. If you can hit, you're going to play, and that's the biggest thing when these guys get on campus. They're going to find out who can hit with consistency, and that's what's going to be the makeup of this 2021 Razorback team.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, let's jump into Clayton Gray. You mentioned him a minute ago, but Clayton Gray, an outfielder out of Cabot, Arkansas, another homegrown kid that I am looking forward to up on the hill for sure. Let me jump around here on my YouTube side because this one was a little more difficult to hunt up. So not a whole lot of highlights I could really find to mess with here. So, and I don't want that one to play sound either. But let me fix that. So anyway, getting into Clayton Gray, big time, a lot of pop. Another lefty, good size. Another guy that's really well thought of by most of the services out there. What can you tell us about Clayton Gray?
So Clayton really shot up the boards, whether it be his draft stock, whatever it may be. this past year just because of his work ethic. Clayton, he's a homegrown product from Cabot, Arkansas, part of that great Cabot Panther baseball program, and left-handed hitter, sub 6'5". So he measured a 6'4" in his 60 time down at the Perfect Game National Showcase last summer. And you look at him, he's 5'10", 5'11", $165. He's going to put on more weight. He's got present strength right now. He can hit the ball out of the ballpark, but he is one of those fast twitch guys, Steve, and it's just a lot of fun to watch him play. He's a lot like Casey Martin when it comes to his motor, and everything is fast. Everything's 196 miles per hour with him. So you're not going to outplay him on the field. You're not going to out-hustle him, and it's a lot of fun to watch him play. I've had the privilege to coach him for the last 4 years during the summer, and he's just gotten better every time out. He can hit leadoff. He can hit in the 2-hole. He has the power to drive in runs from the 3 or 4 hole. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Clayton. His arm has gotten better in the outfield. That was the knock on him in the past. But I believe once he steps on campus in the fall, due to his work ethic, he'll have a 90-mile-per-hour arm coming from the outfield. And that's what has turned the attention of major league programs. I don't think he goes in the draft, Steve, but it's definitely got teams on the radar for 3 years down the line.
Well, and again, another guy that's, like we were talking about, highly rated, 9.5 perfect game grade. So definitely a guy that's probably going to have a really good look at the other level, at the next level. You were talking about the ages and the 2-year guys. Now, does Clayton fall into that 2 year? I know he's with 18 and 7 months at the 2020 draft. So how does that work? Is this a guy we'll see on campus for 2 years or 3 years?
He's a 3-year guy. He's not quite there to where. And you can really tell if you look at Perfect Game, they give the age at the 2020 draft. Nate Wohlgemuth is going to be 19 years old. If you're 18 years and 11 months, you're going to qualify for the 2023 draft. That'll be 2 years of college. Clayton is going to be there 3 years. Hopefully he decides that's where he wants to be. And I would say it's 98.6% sure that he is. So, yeah, he's going to be there for 3 years if he is, a lot like, not like Andrew Benintendi, but Dominic Fletcher. Take my mind for a minute. But, yeah, he's going to be there for 3 years. Has the ability to be that next great center fielder for the Hogs. And
I think that's a good point to make sure that everyone understands. When we start talking about folks that are listening and we're trying to get information out, the rule is a little strange there. So I think it's good to clarify exactly how that 2-year rule works. So I'm glad we were able to get that in there as well because, like I said, that's a very confusing. A lot of folks didn't realize that Connor Nolan fell into that and could live as well.
So, some think with every major sport having different rules. With basketball, it's one and done. They're about to do away with that. In baseball, you can go out of high school, but if you go to a 4-year college, you have to wait 2 or 3 years, depending on your birthday. But if you come out of high school and go to a junior college, you're eligible for the draft immediately after that 1 year of JUCO. So it's all a numbers game as far as money where it's concerned. And, a lot of these guys are getting great advice on what they need to do. The big guy that got drafted by the Nationals that was at Arkansas, the 6'8", 6'9" righty, Jackson Rutledge, went to San Jacinto Junior College and got his fastball up to 99 miles per hour, 100 miles per hour, and went in the first round to the Washington Nationals. So everybody's a little different. Like Steve Moritz said, everybody has their own path. Hopefully a lot of these guys are going to be at Arkansas for 2 or 3 years, and we can bring that title home from Omaha.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I know that you've got something that you wanted to talk about a little bit before we finish up tonight. Tell us about, is it rock, paper, scissors? Tell us about that and how this thing works.
Yeah, it is. A good buddy of mine that coaches baseball at Cabot, Cody Perrin, wanted to put together a charity fundraiser for Arkansas Children's Hospital. And he got some of the local celebrities from around Central Arkansas and the state to participate in a rock, paper, scissors tournament. So 16 local celebrities. We've got Hunter Henry, Joe Adams from the Razorbacks, KTV personalities, Todd Jacobian, Ainsley Watson, Allison Courtney. Got some guys from the Buzz, Randy Rainwater, Justin Acree, Wes Moore, former Senator and Speaker of the House, Shane Broadway. are going to participate, and it's going to be all streamed online with social media. Friday at 7:30, whether it be Twitter, Facebook Live, and Instagram, and YouTube. So there will be a link if you're able to tune in at 7:30. There will be a link that goes directly to Arkansas Children's Hospital to where you can donate and raise money for a really good cause. It's had a lot of fun, putting these brackets together, and there's been a little bit of trash talking going on recently. Tori and Lexi Weeks are also in the tournament, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Raise money for a good cause during a tough time for all Arkansans.
Yeah, without a doubt. Make sure you guys join and find the link for that. Hop on and donate. Great cause there. Arkansas Children's Hospital, obviously special place in most folks' heart. I've had some friends of ours who've unfortunately had to spend a lot of time there over the last few months. So anything we can do to support Arkansas Children's Hospital, we can 100% get behind.
That's right. And yeah, Cody's always done a good job and getting the community involvement. He's been up there at Cabot, Clayton Gray, Houston King, some of the guys that have learned underneath him. And it's just going to make those guys better husbands and better adults in the future.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, that's going to do it for another episode of Around the Diamond. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe this podcast, and please leave us a 5-star review. Obviously, if we have earned your 5-star review, we want to get it. Those reviews help us out, and we want to keep those reviews at 5 stars. Plus, we want to know what you guys think from a comment perspective of what we can do better. Also, anybody that you guys may want to see or hear come on the podcast, please let us know. And don't forget to sign up for live notifications on our Facebook page, Natural State Sports, so you don't miss our live shows. We get things kicked off on Thursdays with the Sports Junkies at 7:30 Central, and then don't miss Zach and Andy for NSS Live every Friday night at 7:30 Central as well. Once again, guys, thanks for joining us, and until next week, wash those hands and play ball.